So one of the fun things about this project for me has been to try to figure out how did he make these sculptures. And in order to do that, you need to know what exactly those materials are. All rocks and fossils are composed of minerals. Minerals have a specific internal structure, and the way that minerals arrange themselves, it changes the hardness, the strength, and the shape of those end product materials. So Konovalenko used all different types of minerals in his work. Materials that didn't want to break apart at all, materials that were very soft, and even used materials that are what are called cryptocrystalline. They have crystals that are so small they're like glass. You can have soft minerals and hard minerals that could be brittle, or they could have what are called cleavage planes. It's a risky venture to carve against these fractures in the minerals. Labradorite is a mineral that has cleavage in several directions. If you look at it from a particular angle when light is hitting it, it glints. He would often pick minerals like obsidian that fracture conchoidally, like glass, where they have jagged, sharp edges, and he would carve them in a smooth fashion. It's one thing to carve an obsidian ball this big, but it's another thing to be carving a boot that's the size of my fingernail and then trying to put a lace or a cut into it. He used assemblages of minerals that were interconnected. For example, rutilated quartz. The clear mineral, the quartz, gives a sense of the overall shape of the field of grass that's being cut. Yet within it has these rutile crystals that look like individual blades of grass. The watermelon grew initially as ruby, and then this greenish mineral called zoisite sort of grew around it. And that happens because whatever fluids in a cavity underground in which it grew, their chemistry and their pressure and their temperature probably changed during the course of the growth of a mineral. Another raw material that Konovalenko uses is petrified wood. And petrified wood is just wood that's been replaced by microscopic quartz or silica. It preserves all of the original details of the wood, the cells, the annual growth rings, sometimes the bark, or even the pits that beetles made in the wood. And it carves like glass. So those are 30 to 80 million year old pieces of wood that he very carefully carved boards out of. Konovalenko used fossils in his work as well. So the Cossack has a really cool hat. It has these crinkled patterns in it and all these little circles. Well, it turns out those circles are 50 million year old snail shells that come from Wyoming in what's called Turritella agate. Some of the materials that he uses that aren't natural stone are cloisonné enamel. He also coats some things in gold or uses actually gold wire. One other raw material that he uses that's biological in origin are pearls. He uses pearls as buttons. He also uses them in some of the jewelry. In some cases, he carved pearls and then inserting the carved crescents on the face to create slitted eyes. Konovalenko used stones that were formed anywhere from as recently as 100 million years ago to stones that formed 3 billion years ago. So for example, there's a type of rock called a banded ironstone. And those were deposited on the seafloor billions of years ago in very, very minute layers as Earth was becoming oxygenated for the first time. Konovalenko's sculptures have many elements that are just mind-blowing. That it's as if he could see into the mineral and know that there was an imperfection in there, for example, that he was later going to use to be a wart on someone's face. How do you make structures like fabric out of stone? How do you make them appear to be pliable and have the patterns in them that we might put in real life? Some of the shirts, for example, had beautiful stripes in them. And he picked pieces of jasper where if you kinked your elbow, the stripe kinked as well. We have a fellow sitting there, and he has this very florid-looking, almost paisley shirt. And it's basically jasper with all of these little interesting patterns of iron and manganese stains in there. He used this jagged pattern of dissolution in this and precipitation to his advantage to depict a pattern on a dress. The hats that Konovalenko made were also really fun. He often, instead of taking one mineral or one rock and making a single hat, he would use two to fuse them together. They wear these flappy-eared hats that have insulation. And so he picks this mineral called grape agate that has these little bumps on it, and he uses it to depict that fuzz. He used a variety of materials to show water in really elegant ways. It could be cloudy, it could be icy on the top, it could be rippled, it could have foam in it and debris. And he chose stones that had banded layering in them to mimic the ripples that might occur in a pool around an object. The creation of an object like this is part experience, it's part kind of luck and gut feeling, and it's part art, right? And somehow these sculptures meet in the middle, and that is very unusual.